Hi, how are you? My name is Kim Payton, and I'm so excited for you to be here. Just a recap of what my show, #ICAN is about. It's about stories. The goal is empowerment, inspiration, overcoming, winning, and sometimes losing, but always learning from it. We all have stories. And today, I'm very excited to introduce my good friend, Lockey Maisonneuve.
Hi.
Thank you. That correct?
You said it very, very well. Yes.
Usually, I like to do stories on people with disabilities. We are differently able, but today I'm going to change it up, and I'm actually going to do a story about this woman who is a survivor, and she is a survivor. She wrote this awesome book. It's called A Girl Raised by Wolves, and this is her life story, her journey. A journey that would have turned most people off, but in her case, it actually made her into a survivor. If you want to know exactly what she went through, you have to read this book, but I will tell you, it deals with sex trafficking, cancer, murder, and more. So I'm curious, I'm sure you are too, how of everything that you went through, did you come out on the other side? So what would you like us to know, what was the worst incident and what empowered you?
Well, it's funny that we're doing this interview today. And again, thank you for having me on. I actually had a flashback this morning. Mm-hmm. So the things that happened to me, I was trafficked as a child. I was pretty much on my own since I was around 10, 11 years old. And as I grew up, I tried to manage everything and I tried to fit in. Mm-hmm. And I did everything under the guise of I'm going to pretend that I look like I'm an okay person, that I look like whatever I think the norm of what someone should look like is. And it was only when I shared my story and when I started to really process the pain and the trauma that I had experienced, that was when real healing happened. And quite often, since the book came out in 2018, and I've done a lot of speaking events to promote the book, and a lot of events working with people who are on their own healing journey. And a lot of people say things to me like, well, now that you're healed. And I always kind of laugh when people say that because I'm not healed, I'm healing. Mm-hmm. And this morning was a great example of it. My husband and I were watching a TV show, and it caused me to have a more expanded flashback of a memory. All of my memories come in fragments. And because of the trauma that I dealt with, mm-hmm. and because at the young age, I was 11 years old when I was trafficked, and I blocked it out. So I didn't remember it until I was an adult. And after it was the birth of my second child, who was my daughter. That's what helped me push the memories to the surface. And so most of the memories actually are images. I see things or I feel something in my body, which my therapists have told me that means that I have visceral memories, right? Or visceral flashbacks. And this one that I had today was actually, it was like almost a little bit of an opening. Mm-hmm. I always had this image of, I was in a very, like a mansion kind of a house, and it was this foyer with a pool table, and I was abused in the house. I know that I was abused in the house, but I couldn't remember anything. And we watched a TV show today where the foyer of a house looked similar to what this memory that I had was. So all day I've been unpacking and processing this memory. And instead of panicking or feeling the anxiety, I was able to actually go with it. And that to me is the most significant thing that I've gotten out of my healing journey, is that when things come up now, because they come up out of left field, which is usually how these memories sort of come up. But instead of fighting them, mm-hmm. and instead of wondering why I feel this way or trying to self-medicate, or self-sabotage to make the feelings go away, I'm able to actually go with them now. And so we did everything that married couples do today. We bought sneakers. I went and bought anti-wrinkle cream because apparently I'm at this age. And, we went and did errands and had lunch and did whatever we had to do. When I needed to talk about it, I did. Okay. And I'm okay. You know, it's just another piece of it now. Instead of it being an earth-shattering thing that happens that causes panic and anxiety and anger and all the negative feelings to come to the surface, instead I'm able to actually process it. So that's what I would say is the most significant thing that has come out of this healing journey. Is the work that I've done and understanding that I'm not healed like in the past tense. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was a time you were deaf.
Yeah.
Right? Then you got the cochlear implants. Now you're not deaf. Right? There, it's an ending to something.
Right.
And now you get to live your life in a whole new way, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I love that you used that example of my deafness, but it's like you said, you're not healed. I would never tell people that I'm not deaf. I still consider myself deaf.
Do you?
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, when I take out my processors, I'm deaf.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't hear anything.
Okay.
And so I always like it. And I think for you, when you said you could work through it, so that basically means that you can just go on with your day. That was one question I had. So it's not like you said, you're not self-medicating, you're self-sabotaging yourself. So would that be, I mean, how did you get there? Because if somebody went through, we talked about the sex trafficking, the cancer, and the murder, how do you, not everybody can afford to go to a therapist. So
That's true. Yeah.
How did you get there? I mean, is it just because you wrote this book and that helped you as part of your journey? So would that be the biggest obstacle that you overcame, or is the fact that you went through the healing part and you found a method that works for you?
So the short answer is yes to everything you just said. I went through, I did go to therapy. I've had therapists that I've loved, and I've had therapists that I didn't connect with at all and felt nothing. I've had therapists who have been extraordinarily helpful and who have helped me to see things that I never saw before from a new perspective. What brought it all together for me was yoga and mindfulness, and actually starting to notice that inner dialogue that was going on, that, it's like this inner dialogue that we have that sort of pushes our actions, right? So I would say things like, yes, I would love to have that job or go on a date or do whatever. But in the back of my head, I was wondering, what's the angle? How is this going to hurt me? What do I have to do to protect myself from this person? And I realized that they were not appropriate responses.
Right, but because of your experiences, what your dad had done with you, what
Yes.
your mom, and, so you don't trust anybody. And the fact that you are, obviously, you have a married woman with 2 beautiful children, and you have a family of trust, love, and you managed to accomplish that, where most people would have the trust for the whole life.
Yeah.
And you've been able to overcome that. I mean, how do you help others or recommend others who want that sense of being normal, what it's like to be normal, have a normal family?
Yeah.
Most of them have struggled with that.
Well, I think, I went to one therapist when I was much younger, and she said to me, well, girls like you usually end up on a pole or with a needle in their arm. And I went, okay, but what about the ones who don't? It was kind of, when she said it, I was offended. Now I kind of think it's funny. I don't mean funny like I'm negating a person who's on drugs or on a pole. It's none of my business what a person does with their lives. But for me, I knew that wasn't a road I wanted to travel. And there was always something inside me that felt like this isn't how it's supposed to be. But instead of making it wrong and being a victim, which I was a victim for quite a while, when I realized that I was just being a victim, I was able to look on the other side and go, okay, so this is not how it's supposed to be. How is it supposed to be? What do I want my life to look like? And it was a mixture of therapy and yoga and mindfulness that was able to bring everything together for me. It was what enabled me to be able to sit with my breath, to be able to sit with my thoughts, and to be able to really start owning who I am. And I think that we're never going to heal in the present if we can't accept the past. Now, that does not mean that I, in any kind of way, forgive anybody who abused me. I do, however, release the pain and suffering that I have felt. And I talk about it in the book. A lot of people that I'm very good friends with and that I'm very close to, have a deep religious or more of a religious practice, that in their religion they really believe you have to forgive to be able to heal. I personally, this is my own personal opinion, I don't believe that, because I do believe that any God who loves me, the one that I trust and believe in, is going to accept me however I am. Just like he or she is going to accept the people who abused me however they are. So in my book, I talk a lot about releasing versus forgiving, and I talk a lot about language. I'm very interested in words, and I'm very interested in the delivery of words. So I find it, for me, in my own spiritual practice, when I'm able to release something just to sort of send it along its way, might come back, might not come back, there's always an opening for it, then I can't really make myself wrong if it does come back, because these feelings will come back. And my goal in life is just to be able to sort of manage it and live in partnership with it, you know?
I love when you said that your goal is, like you said, to manage it. But I'm thinking about the abuse that you suffered as a child. How did you overcome that to the point where you can be a loving mother to your children and a loving wife to your husband? I mean, because you never had that growing up. You never saw that. You have no idea what that's like.
Yeah.
But yet, you're living it. I mean, you're actually living the dream that you always wanted for yourself. So how did you do that?
I think it was because, number one, I did have my grandparents.
Okay.
My paternal grandparents, they were very good to me. But I also think that I know a lot of people who have, they have traditions, like they have certain foods on every holiday, they each have their certain stocking, or one person has a job of decorating the tree, the other person has a job of putting the lights up, and it's very sort of almost like an organized holiday like that. And for me, there's none of that. I have no holiday traditions. And at first, I used to really be upset and sad, and I felt like I was letting my children down because of that. But then I realized the slate's clean for me. We can create any holiday we want. So whether it's we celebrate Christmas and Christmas Eve, and when we celebrate one of those days, it doesn't matter which one, but either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, my entire family, myself, my husband, and my children, lay around in the house in our pajamas all day. Now, this year it happened to be Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, we did our dinner. My son this year, he's really into cooking now. He made Korean noodles, which that might be a tradition. Who knows, We do have a little tradition on Christmas Day. My son cooked for my mother-in-law and our immediate family, and he made beef Wellington, which he loves to make. So, okay, fine. Next year we might have pizza. I don't know. But we don't stress about the holidays because we don't have anything to live up to. So it's kind of nice that we can say, well, this year let's do this, and this year let's do this. And one year I made a clam bake, and my kids had tacos. We just do it the way we want to do it. And it is kind of nice. And it is, until I learned to embrace it, I always fought it like, this is wrong. Look what everybody else does with their holidays. I must be doing something wrong. And then I realized that, not to be hallmarky about it, but the real reason for the season is to get together and be with family and celebrate each other and all that. And yes, we love presents and all that, but at the same time, I don't actually have to buy into any of the commercialism of the holidays. We can actually create whatever we want, and that's what we've done. And I kind of like that. If we want to bake cookies one year, okay, I don't bake. But if my daughter wanted to bake cookies one year, I would definitely sit in the kitchen and watch her and clean up the dishes while she did, because I don't bake. But, when my son wants to make Korean noodles for dinner, which I was like, okay, is this a thing? I guess it's a thing now, right? We'll make it a thing.
So what would you say is your motto? Like, if you have one thing, if somebody comes up to you and says, Lockey, you obviously overcame, you're successful, you overcame all the different tragedies to become a better person. What would you say is your motto that you want to share with us?
My motto?
Your motto. What is that you can live by?
The words that immediately come to mind are, they didn't break me. That is, I always go back to, I know a lot of people who've been through a lot of stuff, and what I admire when I see people like that is the fact that they're not broken. And the work that I do today, the fact that I wrote this book, all of it is a direct reflection of my healing. And I teach yoga to people to incarcerated men. I teach yoga to people in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. And I teach yoga to youth at risk in the Newark school systems. And I teach to psych patients at Trinitas Hospital in Elizabeth. And the one thing I tell every single person that I teach yoga to, and I believe this about everybody, is you're not broken. You're not a broken person, right? Because to me, things or people that are broken need to be fixed. And I don't have the answer. I don't have a prescription to fix. Mm-hmm. I would much rather see, just like you doing this podcast. Mm-hmm. I love that you do this because you're not hiding behind, oh, well, I'm deaf and I don't have the same speech patterns as other people, and so maybe I shouldn't be the one talking. You're just like owning it. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you.
Nope, not at all.
So that to me, that's my motto. They didn't break me. I don't see you as broken. I don't see people as broken. Mm-hmm. I see people as, you have a wicked story. Let's hear that. And that's what, I love that you're doing this, because that's actually a little teaser for you. That's actually what we're thinking about for my next book. Because I'm definitely writing a second book.
I know. You kind of alluded to it. Can I?
Oh, I did. When we saw each other. We have a social life today. And we spent time together.
Is there any type of hint, clues, something, a teaser that you can share with us?
How can I say this? Without giving the whole thing away.
No, I don't want you to give it away, but just a little.
It won't be about me. It'll be about other people who are not broken.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So, and I'm when we came up, myself and another person, who I don't have permission yet to share the other person's name, but when we came up with it, I got so excited I couldn't sleep for 2 days. So I know it's the right thing. I know it's the next thing, and I know, and it's not about me. It has nothing to do with me.
Is it about the healing journey?
Yeah, it kind of is, but it's from a celebratory place, not from a woe is me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that, thank you for all the kind words that you have said about it. And that's what I believe. I believe everybody should have a positive outlook in life.
Yes.
I believe the glass is always half full. And that's one of the reasons why I'm one of your biggest fans, because you totally turned it around, where some people could have gone the other direction. And what I love is that you always shown as well as love, kindness.
Yeah.
So I thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
And definitely, I encourage every one of you to read this book. It's one of those stories that you're going to walk away and be like, oh my God. But then you realize you can do it. You can overcome, and you can be that better person. Thank you. My name is Kim. If you want to reach out to me, reach out to my website, and also my email, which is kimpaytontvg@email.com. Show kind and show love and be kind to all.
Thank you.